Stray dog saves boy from attack. Weeks later, his collar reveals a heartbreaking secret. "Get away from him!" Ryan's scream echoed through the dark alley as the feral dog lunged. Its teeth glinted in the faint light, its growl a low rumble of menace. Ryan tripped and fell backward, his heart racing, the world spinning as panic gripped him. Before the beast could strike, a streak of brown fur leapt into action. A lean, scrappy stray collided with the larger dog, sending it tumbling. The two animals clashed in a blur of growls and teeth. Ryan scrambled to his feet, watching as the stray fought fiercely despite its smaller size. When the attacker finally fled, the stray limped toward him, blood matting its coat before collapsing. Ryan knelt beside the dog, tears in his eyes. "You saved me." Ryan first noticed the stray dog on a chilly Tuesday afternoon at the park, a place he often escaped to when his parents' arguments became too much to bear. The dog was thin, its ribs protruding beneath a coat that looked like it hadn't been clean in years. Its movements were cautious, its eyes darting nervously as it sniffed around the trash bins for scraps. Something about the dog resonated with Ryan. He had felt invisible at school, where classmates teased him for being quiet, and at home, where his parents seemed too preoccupied with their problems to notice him. The dog's loneliness mirrored his own. Pulling his peanut butter sandwich from his backpack, Ryan hesitated before breaking off a piece and tossing it toward the stray. "Here, boy," he said softly. The dog froze, its body rigid, but hunger eventually won. It crept forward, snatched the bread, and retreated to a safer distance to eat. Ryan smiled. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he'd done something good, something that mattered. The next day, the dog was waiting for him. Its tail wagged faintly when it saw him approach. Ryan laughed, tossing it another piece of his sandwich. "Guess you like me, huh?" This became their daily ritual. Though the dog never let Ryan get too close, it began to trust him more, inching closer with each meeting. Slowly but surely, a bond began to form between the boy and the stray. Ryan didn't tell anyone about the stray dog. It wasn't that he didn't want to share, it just felt like their bond was something special, something fragile that might break if exposed. His parents wouldn't have understood anyway. Lately, they were too busy arguing about overdue bills and whose fault it was that money was tight. Every afternoon after school, Ryan would head to the park, carrying an extra sandwich he had secretly packed. The stray, whom he now called Buddy, was always there, waiting near the same trash bins. Ryan would sit on the same bench, tossing bits of food and talking softly. "I don't think they even notice I'm gone half the time," he confided one day, watching as Buddy cautiously inched closer. "You're the only one who listens to me." Buddy wagged his tail, his eyes locked on the boy. Slowly, he began to relax, even lying down a few feet away as Ryan talked. Over the next week, Buddy grew braver, edging closer until he finally ate from Ryan's hand. Ryan beamed, feeling a rare sense of accomplishment. He'd never had a pet before, never felt needed in this way. At school, Ryan found himself counting the minutes until he could see Buddy again. The dog had become his escape, his friend, and, in a way, his lifeline. He didn't know it yet, but Buddy wasn't just listening. He was waiting for the moment when he could repay the boy's kindness in the most unexpected way. The night of the attack started like any other. Ryan finished his homework quickly and told his parents he was going to the park. They barely acknowledged him, locked in another argument about money. The air was crisp as he walked, Buddy trailing a short distance behind like he always did now. Ryan smiled as he looked back at the dog. "You don't have to follow me, you know," he called softly, but Buddy's wagging tail was his only answer. On his way home, Ryan decided to take a shortcut through a narrow alley. He was halfway through when a low growl stopped him in his tracks. Turning, he saw a large feral dog emerge from the shadows. Its fur bristled, teeth bared in a menacing snarl. "Easy," Ryan whispered, his voice trembling. He took a step back, but the dog advanced, its growls growing louder. Panic gripped him as he realized there was no escape. Before he could scream, a blur of brown fur leapt between him and the attacker. It was Buddy. The stray lunged at the feral dog with ferocity Ryan didn't think was possible. The two dogs clashed, growls and yelps echoing in the alley. Buddy bit and pushed, forcing the larger dog to retreat into the shadows. Ryan stared in disbelief as Buddy, bloodied and limping, turned to him and wagged his tail weakly before collapsing. "Buddy!" Ryan cried, dropping to his knees. "You saved me. I'll take care of you now, I promise." Ryan carried Buddy home in his arms that night, his heart pounding with fear and gratitude. The dog's limp body felt lighter than he expected, as if the months of surviving on scraps had taken their toll. When he reached the garage, he gently laid Buddy on an old blanket. "It's okay, Buddy. You're safe now," Ryan whispered, tears streaking his face as he examined the injuries. He fetched warm water, some clean rags, and a shirt he had outgrown to use as makeshift bandages. Buddy flinched at first, but then relaxed, his trust in Ryan unwavering. Over the next few days, Ryan did everything he could to nurse Buddy back to health. He snuck food from the kitchen and spent hours in the garage, talking to the dog and checking his wounds. Each wag of Buddy's tail gave Ryan hope that he was getting better. One afternoon, as Ryan gently scratched Buddy's ears, his fingers brushed against something coarse, the dog's collar. It was old and frayed, almost blending into Buddy's scruffy fur. Ryan hadn't paid much attention to it before, but now it caught his eye. Curious, he leaned in closer, rubbing away the dirt caked on a small metal tag. Faded, etched letters emerged. "Max. If found, call 555-432-7890. Ryan's stomach twisted. Someone had loved this dog enough to give it a name and a collar. He stared at the tag, torn between wanting to keep Buddy forever and the realization that he might not belong to him at all. For days, Ryan wrestled with the decision. The tag on Buddy's collar haunted him. Someone had loved this dog enough to name him Max and give him a home once, but where were they now? What if they were still searching? Yet the thought of losing Buddy, his only friend, his hero, was unbearable. Late one evening, as Buddy lay sleeping in the garage, Ryan sat on the cold cement floor with the tag in his hand. His fingers hovered over his phone for what felt like hours before he finally dialed the number. "Hello?" A shaky, tired voice answered on the other end. Ryan hesitated, his throat tightening. "Hi, I think I found your dog," he said softly. The voice on the line cracked with emotion. You found Max? Is he okay? I thought I'd never see him again." The woman explained how Max had gone missing months ago after a fire destroyed her home. In the chaos, he had run off, and despite weeks of searching, she had lost hope. Ryan's heart sank. She told him Max had been her husband's dog, a final connection to the man she'd lost to illness a year earlier. By the time the call ended, tears were streaming down Ryan's face. Buddy, Max, wasn't just a stray. He was someone's family, someone's lifeline. As much as it hurt, Ryan knew what he had to do. He stroked Buddy's fur gently. "I'll miss you, Buddy, but it's time to go home." The next morning, Ryan waited anxiously on the porch, Buddy sitting at his feet. The dog seemed to sense something was different, his tail wagging half-heartedly as if unsure what was happening. A car pulled into the driveway and a woman stepped out. Her hands trembled as she approached, her eyes filling with tears when she saw Buddy. "Max," she whispered, kneeling down. Buddy's ears perked up, and he barked softly before limping toward her. The woman hugged him tightly, her tears soaking his fur. "I thought I'd lost you forever," she sobbed. She looked up at Ryan, her voice thick with gratitude. "You have no idea what this means to me. He was my husband's dog, the only piece of him I had left after he passed." Ryan's chest tightened, but he managed a smile. "He's a good dog. He saved my life." The woman offered to repay Ryan, but he shook his head. "I just wanted him to be safe." That evening, as Ryan sat alone in the garage, the emptiness was overwhelming. He missed Buddy's quiet presence, the way his tail would wag when he talked. That evening, as Ryan sat alone in the garage, the emptiness was overwhelming. He missed Buddy's quiet presence, the way his tail would wag when he talked. 2 days later, a knock at the door startled him. Standing there was the woman, with Buddy by her side. "He wouldn't stop whining," she said with a smile. "I was thinking, maybe we could share him?" Ryan's face lit up. Buddy bounded inside, wagging his tail furiously. It wasn't goodbye, it was a new beginning. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales of kindness, unexpected heroes, and emotional journeys. Share this video with someone who could use a little reminder that love and loyalty can come from the most surprising places. And remember, every act of kindness, no matter how small, can change a life.